Good evening and welcome to this week's video. We are going to be enjoying summer and rereading the Red Rising series. Okay, I have in fact started my reread. I started it in the previous video and at that point I think I got to about 60% of the way through, 50 or 60%. And then I decided to go back and reread some of the middle section again just because I wanted to. So now I am on chapter 21, which is about 38% of the way through, and I am loving rereading this so far. I just feel so connected to the story and the characters, and I love the fact that I can connect it to what's going to happen later. I also love the fact that we're at the beginnings of the friendships and the storylines and characters that come into play later on, and that I can connect those dots, and I'm just really appreciating this book so much more. Now I have to say this is probably my favorite book out of the whole series anyway, and the first time I read this book I loved it. However, now that I've read the later books, I am loving it even more and I'm just appreciating it so much more. I also just love that it's the first book in such a big series and there's so much more complications later on in this series, and I like that this is a little bit more simpler and we have a bit more of kind of a focus and we're just starting to learn about the world that we're in, and I love this book so much. So I'm having a really good time with this so far. I have in fact kind of dismissed the rest of my summer TBR and I might get back to them in this season or they might be postponed to the next season. I don't know, but I'm just in the mood to reread this and I am just trying to slow down with my reading a little bit. I do have the audiobook of this and I've been loving an immersive read. However, as I learned in my previous video, I one, need to slow down my audiobook speed, and two, not rely so heavily on the audiobooks because it did take away my experience of immersing myself in the story in the later books that I read during that point. So I have slowed it down. I haven't really been listening to the audiobook on its own. I've only been listening to it when I've been doing an immersive read, and I've really been enjoying that. That does mean that I have been reading slower than normal, but I'm okay with that because it also means that I'm enjoying my experience of reading this so much more, which is what I think I needed. I think maybe I was trying to rush through books a little bit too quickly or trying to get through my summer TBR when actually I just wanted to slow down a little bit and just enjoy the book. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get back to our reread. I did not do any reading last night, okay? It was the World Cup semi-final and England was playing, so I was watching that and England lost, and so I scrolled on Instagram. I did pick up Red Rising and I think I read about 2 pages of chapter 21 and then I put it down and went to sleep. So I do definitely want to do some reading today. This evening I definitely want to do some reading of Red Rising. I have previously done reading timers which are about 40-45 minutes of reading and I've really enjoyed them. It's also helped me to just focus on what I'm doing rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to read this evening and then ending up not picking up the book until right before I go to sleep. I think if I have a timer, that will ensure that I actually do get some reading done and I'm focused on the book. So I do want to do that, and I'll probably do an immersive read because I do love an immersive read. So that's kind of the plan for today. Good evening. I have officially logged off from work. Now, before we get to Red Rising, this book just arrived. I pre-ordered this because I was waiting for the paper book to come out to read it. Okay, this is the sequel, with the first book being Heavenly Bodies, which is a romantasy that I absolutely loved, which I read earlier on in this year and I binged it. I read it in about 2 days and I was waiting for the paper book of the second book to come out in order to read it, and here it finally is. This is one of the books on my summer TBR as well. Now I'm not going to be reading it now, but I probably will pause my reread of the Red Rising series at some point so that I can pick this up because this will be a fun book to read. For now, we are going to be doing a 40-minute timer, which I will have set up over here, and we are going to be doing an immersive read of Red Rising. I love Severo. Oh my god. I love this book and I love just reading the start of the friendships and the romances and the character dynamics and knowing what's going to happen later on in the series. I'm loving this book, this reread of this book so much. Okay, so the 40 minutes are up. I really enjoyed doing that. I have started chapter 24, so I'm 47% of the way through this. I am loving this reread so much for so many different reasons, but primarily just to be back at the beginning of such a big series where there's so much going on, and to just kind of start it afresh and read it with the knowledge of what happens later on and be able to appreciate it so much more because of that. So I'm really, really enjoying this. I also really like doing timers for hobbies, so I think I'm going to do that more often. I know I did start doing that about a month ago. I would just put a timer on for half an hour and read. I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. For the rest of this evening, I'm going to chill. I'm going to have some dinner. I need to catch up on Love Island, and I have been listening to so much Disney music lately. I made a whole playlist with just Disney songs, and then I also started adding some other songs that I would listen to in my pre-teen years, like One Direction, Justin Bieber, that kind of vibe. And it's been so fun. It's just been light-hearted music that's been really enjoyable to listen to, and like it just feels really fun. So I'm probably going to listen to that a little bit more later when I tidy up my room. And then other than that, I don't think I'm going to get any more reading done today. Maybe right before I go to sleep, but we will see, because recently I have been watching Love Island and then going to sleep pretty soon after that without reading, because the time that Love Island is on is usually when I would normally read. So that's why I've been reading a little bit less recently. You and me were face to face, but we don't see eye to eye. Fire away, you can drive me insane. Good evening. It has been about a week since we last caught up. Okay, firstly, I have in fact done my nails at home. I've been doing my nails at home for nearly 2 months. However, this time around when I did them, I ended up having to redo them twice. Well, I redid all of them once, and then I also redid a few of the nails a second time round. I don't know why, but this time I just kept messing it up. So I did end up having to redo them, but they are officially done, and I really like the color and how they've turned out to be. In terms of reading, I think the last time we spoke, I was maybe halfway through or towards the end of Red Rising, I can't remember, but I have officially finished this first book. Now, I think part of the reason that I love this book so much is that we really get to see these characters at their most naive and their most innocent. Now, they're not innocent. However, this is the most innocent that we see them in this series, and so it also feels like I'm reading some of their core memories, which I absolutely love, especially in terms of the friendship. So that is probably the biggest reason that I love this book, and I just love the way that this series starts. But I have in fact finished the first book, Red Rising, and when I got to, I would say about 60-70% of the way through this first book, I then just swiftly wanted to continue and keep going. And so I have also read the second book, Golden Sun. This one really expands the world that we're in, and we get to experience a lot more in terms of the development of the world, different characters, different locations, and so this really expands that. So I definitely enjoyed this book, and now I am currently on a Morning Star, and I am just over halfway, and I'm really enjoying this one too, and I'm just going to keep going with it. Now, another reason that I haven't been able to catch you up so much is because I have a wedding to attend this upcoming weekend, and so this past weekend I have been busy with said upcoming wedding and also just prepping for it, packing, those kind of things, and so I haven't really had the chance to catch you up. So this upcoming weekend, actually tomorrow onwards, I am heading up north for said wedding, and I'm hoping to read quite a lot on the way there and the way back. I don't think I'm going to read that much when I'm actually there, just because I think it's going to be quite busy, but I should be able to get a lot of reading done on the way there and the way back. I do hope to actually complete Morning Star before we head there, because I do still have some packing to do this evening, and I'm thinking of listening to the audiobook as I do that and potentially finish this book before we head up, in which case I can then take Iron Gold with me and start rereading this on the way there. That is the plan anyway. But yeah, that's kind of the updates that I have. I'm sure I had some other things, but I've absolutely forgotten them. Okay, so we are about to head off soon. I have gotten to 85% of the way through Morningstar, and I'm going to continue and complete the audiobook of Morningstar on the way there. And then I'm also going to take the physical copy of Iron Gold. I also have the audiobook for Iron Gold, so I can do an immersive read. I think I would complete Morningstar on the way there, and then I can switch to Iron Gold. One thing that I've really been enjoying the past couple of evenings is actually listening to an audiobook whilst doing another hobby. So a couple of evenings ago, I played on my Switch, which I haven't done in quite a while, but I played on that whilst listening to Morningstar. And then yesterday evening I downloaded an image from Pinterest which I could color in on my iPad, which I really enjoyed. I've never done that before, but I would definitely be doing that more in the future. I don't have any actual coloring books, and I don't think I'm going to get any, simply because I already have a lot of physical hobbies and I don't have the space to add another one to it. And I actually quite enjoyed coloring on my iPad instead, so I will definitely be doing that more in the future. It felt quite therapeutic to do that whilst listening to an audiobook, and I really did enjoy that. And I've kind of been taking my evenings back and not being so much on the screen, but rather doing other hobbies instead. So I've really been liking that. Now this weekend I'm not going to take any hobbies with me apart from reading, and that's kind of the only one that I'm going to see if I can fit in. I'll definitely read on the way there and the way back, and hopefully a little bit in between. But we'll see how much time I really get to read. There might not be any time to read except for on the way there and the way back, and that's it. But either way, I will be reading and completing Morningstar today, and then starting Iron Gold as well. We've just gotten here. I freshened up. It is so nice, especially the place that we're staying. I have in fact finished reading Morningstar. I did not manage to start Iron Gold, so we'll see if and when that happens over the course of this weekend, but we are going to head back out very soon. Good afternoon. I got back yesterday and it was such a fun weekend. I really enjoyed it. It was super busy, but I was just staying present throughout all of the moments, and I really had a lot of fun with it. I didn't manage to film too much because I was just trying to focus on being there with everyone, but I had a lot of fun with it, and it made me realize that I need to be more intentional with my time and energy, because that's something that I've slipped up on a little bit in the past month, but we will speak about that a little bit more in a minute. I did manage to finish Morningstar on the way there, and I did start Iron Gold. There was one day in particular where we had a pretty free afternoon, so I did end up using that to read Iron Gold, and I also read a little bit on the way back yesterday. So I am 28% of the way through reading this, and I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it more than the first time I read it, or at least I'm understanding more of what's going on. I think the first time there was a lot of information in one go, and maybe I didn't allow a lot of it to settle into my mind whilst I was reading it. So I'm definitely understanding it a lot more and experiencing it in a much better way. So I'm enjoying rereading this. Now, when I got back yesterday, I did all of my unpacking, and then this morning I did a slow morning routine. I did a reset and I tidied up. So that is all sorted. So what I want to do today, because I am off from work today and I'm back to work tomorrow, so today I want to continue listening to the audiobook of Iron Gold, and I want to continue coloring on my iPad. So I did start this, I think the evening before, or a couple of evenings before I went to Newcastle, but now that we're back, I'm going to continue it. So this is the one that I have been drawing. Essentially, I got this from Pinterest. I just downloaded the image and then I've just been coloring on top of it. So this is what it looks like. I hope you can see that. Yeah, I think you can see that. So I've only done a little bit of it, but I'm really enjoying it. So I download the image and I import it into Procreate, which is an app that I've been using for years. And I used to do digital art and I used to do drawings on this app. It does cost, I think it's a one-time purchase right at the start. And then you can buy other things for it if you want, but there's a lot of brushes that already exist within Procreate, but you can buy other ones that other people have done. So I bought a few from a couple of other artists. I think I bought some from Etsy as well, but you don't need to do that at all because there's so many on the Procreate library as it is. But I really enjoy this and I'm having a lot of fun with doing this coloring whilst listening to an audiobook. So I will be doing that today, maybe even over the next couple of evenings whilst I listen to this audiobook of Iron Gold, because I want to pick up my pace with reading. I slowed down a little bit and I want to speak about the fact that I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional, because I think I essentially have been watching Love Island every evening and that has had a negative impact on me. It sounds weird to solely blame this on the show, but essentially there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, when I was watching the show, I would get frustrated with things. So it wasn't like I was watching something that relaxed me or that was entertaining and peaceful. It wasn't like that. A lot of the times I was watching, I was getting annoyed and I didn't like it. And because it would come on at 9 p.m, that would normally be the time where I would do a hobby and I would wind down for the evening. So because I wouldn't have that time to wind down in the evening, I would end up watching the show and then doom scrolling straight after for like an hour or two, which was no good. And now that the show is over, the finale was yesterday, I am free of that now and I'm going to try to not watch any new seasons of Love Island once they start coming on, like the next season and stuff, because I just don't think it's good for me. I think it ruins my evening routine, which then also affects the next morning. It takes away my me time, my winding down time, my hobby time. So I definitely think that caused some disruptions. I'm just trying to be a lot more intentional with what I spend my time and energy on, the content that I consume, the TV shows that I watch, the movies that I watch, like all of those things I think are having an impact on me. And I've definitely made changes in the past few months which have been so good, but this one in particular needs to change as well. So I'm happy that this season is over and I will hopefully not be watching anymore and I can kind of get my time back, make sure my evening routine is back to what I want it to be, and just make sure I'm being a lot more intentional with things. So it is, I think, about 2 p.m, so I'm going to head into the garden because it is nice and sunny, and I'm going to continue with the audiobook of Iron Gold and do some coloring on my iPad. I'm hoping to finish Iron Gold in the next 2 to 3 days, but I don't want to rush it, but I also do want to make good progress and get to Dark Age as well, because I am enjoying this reread, but I also am excited to read the other books on my TBR. So I want to continue enjoying this reread, but I definitely want to pick it up a lot more than I have been. So I'm hoping now that my evenings are free again, I will be able to do that. Said to me, you really need space to breathe. I know something's up your silky little sleeve. Your silky little sleeve. Something's up your silky little sleeve. Your silky little sleeve. I seen it coming from up the block. Okay, it has been a couple of days and I've been feeling so good. I have really been intentional with my time, with the habits that I have, the hobbies, the rituals, the routines. This has primarily impacted my evenings, but that has then led to adjusting my morning and my day in general. I feel like I'm just enjoying my time so much more. For example, yesterday evening, I did a workout, I did some reading. I've also just been prioritizing my hobbies. I completely revamped my Notion. I reorganized it. I also set up my lineup for August, which is essentially where I organize what events I want to go to, what solo dates I want to do, what videos I want to make, and I've organized all of that as well, which I love. I also did a deep clean of one of my side cupboards, and I feel like I'm really just making the most out of my time. I'm being very intentional and I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, that has also affected how I spend my mornings and being more intentional with that, and just on a day-to-day basis, what I spend my time doing and also what I consume. For example, I've completely reduced the amount of time I spend on Instagram. I'm barely on it at the moment, and instead when I want to scroll, I'm scrolling on Pinterest because I just find it so much more inspiring. So I have been loving that. I have progressed in terms of my coloring. I'm nearly halfway through, so I do want to do a little bit more of that in the next couple of days. And in terms of Iron Gold, I have in fact finished my reread of this. I've really been enjoying it. I feel like I'm connecting the dots a lot more. I'm getting a lot more of the detail. Also, I think because I'm reading the books consecutively rather than having breaks in between, that's helping as well. Because when I read it the first time, I definitely had one break, but I might have had 2 breaks whilst reading the series. So reading it consecutively the whole way through has really helped. And then I have started Dark Age. I started this morning, but I'm only on chapter 1. So very much at the beginning, but I'm hoping to complete this reread this week because I really want to get back to my TBR and reading new books that I haven't read before. I am completely free on Sunday, but Saturday I am out. So I'm not going to get much reading done on Saturday, but I do still hope to complete this week. If not, then maybe early next week. But that's kind of where I am in terms of my reading. Once I finish this reread, I will be reading Lightbringer, which is the next book in this series. And then I would have read all of the books that are currently out in this series. And then the only other book that I have on my physical TBR is Fallen Stars, which is the sequel to Heavenly Bodies. I loved Heavenly Bodies, and I was waiting for Fallen Stars to come out in paperback, which it did come out in paperback a couple of weeks ago. So I do want to read that as well. And then after that, because I reread the Red Rising series, the rest of my summer TBR I'm not going to make it to in summer. And what I've decided to do is not have a monthly or seasonal TBR, because when I set up my summer TBR, I did end up in my head splitting out what I was going to read in each month. And when I have specific books that I plan for each month, when I get to it, if I'm not in the mood to read it and I decide to read something else, I then kind of feel guilty or feel like I've fallen behind on my TBR, which is not how I want to feel when I'm reading at all. So what I have instead is a list of books that are on my radar that are to be considered, and I can just jump around between them, because something that I really liked about having a yearly TBR is that I really have been able to just jump around and see what I want to read in the moment and pick that up and read, and I've enjoyed that so much more. So for the foreseeable future, I'm not going to have a specific monthly or seasonal TBR. I will have books that are on my radar, but I won't specifically pick out what I'm going to read each month, because I definitely want to allow myself to be much more of a mood reader, which is something that I enjoy a lot more. And also I think it allows me to reread books more often, because there are a few books that I want to reread, and it means when I hear about new books, if I want to read them straight away, I can, even if it's not on my TBR right at that moment. So I think I am kind of letting go of the planned out TBR. So I'll still have a list of books that are on my radar, but I'm going to be mood reading them rather than planning out my monthly TBR. I feel like that's a much better way for me to do that. So that is kind of how I will be moving forward with reading. But let's continue with Dark Age. So I am 30% of the way through my reread of Dark Age, and I just wanted to say I am so happy that I decided to reread this series, because it is exactly what I wanted. I feel like I was falling into a bit of a, I don't know if it was a reading slump, or I just wasn't feeling quite right when I was reading. I think I was rushing through things, especially when it came to like reading vlogs and stuff. And so deciding to reread this series just feels like exactly what I wanted it to feel like. And I am feeling the urge to just keep reading not only this book but other books on my TBR, and I'm feeling excited about reading again. So I'm loving that. Good evening. I have officially finished my reread of the Red Rising series, and I'm so happy to be done with this reread. Now, this isn't to say that I didn't enjoy it, because I absolutely did. I felt a lot more connected this time reading it, maybe because it's the second time reading it, so I'm picking up on a lot more information and I can connect the dots easier. And I read all of the books consecutively, but I really did enjoy rereading it, more connected to the characters, to the storyline, to the plot lines, to the side plots, to the side characters. I also found that, yes, the first book, Red Rising, is definitely still my favorite. However, I did enjoy Iron Gold and Dark Age as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to, because there is a time jump, we've got new characters, we've got new POVs, but I still very much enjoyed those as well. So I'm looking forward to reading the next book, Lightbringer. It's just that this reread took a lot longer than I thought it would, and I'm definitely ready to kind of get back to my TBR and read some new books. I will be rereading some other books probably later on in this year, maybe in winter time, but I do want to jump back to my TBR, read some new books, and hopefully read quite a lot of books, because I've kind of been really slow with this reread, and I don't know why. So I do want to make more time for reading over the next couple of weeks as well. So hopefully we can do that and get through a little bit more of my TBR. But in terms of this reread in general, I did really enjoy it. I definitely found myself obviously being able to pick up more information because it's the second time reading it. It's easier to connect things to later books because you already know what happens later on, and just actually understanding what's going on a lot more because there's so much going on, especially in the later books, that when I first read them, I did get a little bit lost. But this time round, it was a lot easier to understand what was going, to connect things, and to feel more immersed into the story rather than feeling confused. So I really did enjoy the reread of this, but I am definitely looking forward to getting back to my TBR. Let me know if you've read the Red Rising series, if you're planning on reading it, if you've reread it, if you're rereading anything else at the moment. Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!